Hi, guys. I hope this works now. Let me know if anybody's still here, if the sound is working. I had to restart my computer. Sometimes just glitches happen. I'm not going to say anything important until you guys tell me what is happening. Yes, yes. Okay, thank you, Ask Bob. Good afternoon. It feels like it's Friday today because court ended early and it just feels like, what are we going to do for the weekend? But we're not done yet. Tomorrow we definitely have court. But what an exciting day. What I was saying is the Commonwealth finally rested their case. This is the Karen Read retrial 2025. And today we are supposed to be feeling like she did it because the Commonwealth has the responsibility to bring proof beyond a reasonable doubt for the jury sitting there that, I'm showing you guys all this evidence. Now you have to convict the defendant. I don't know if anybody in the jury feels like that. We're going to take a look at the expert's testimony today to see what are the strong points that the Commonwealth was trying to make to convince us of that. Personally, I definitely don't think they have done that beyond a reasonable doubt. Sending somebody to prison for the rest of their lives is a serious, serious business. And I would definitely not be comfortable doing that with the evidence provided so far. The best evidence the Commonwealth has had the entire time, in my opinion, unfortunately, were the clips of Karen Read herself speaking to the media because it doesn't look good. She says a lot of things, and I'm sure some of the jury may have thought, you know what? She said she might have hit him. That's all I need to know, and that's it. I'm going to block everything else out. A lot of times, people, things happen like that. Hi, Eileen. Good afternoon from Scotland. It's good to see you here. Pro Hack, I can't say the rest. Still waiting for the Commonwealth to prove this accident happened. Right. Karina, you had ice cream. What flavor? Tell us everything. Now, the accident reconstructionist was so disappointing in my opinion. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and share the blue experiment right now. So we're gonna take a look at this. If you haven't seen it, and if you're not familiar with this case, please tell me that you agree or disagree that this reconstruction here would cause several scratches to a person's arm and then lead them to hit their head and died. So let's play this experiment from Dr. Welcher.
Very low speeds. And you'll see, and we'll throw this from two different angles. That's me showing I'm doing test 2. This is from a camera that we have pointing down at it. This is the speed. You'll see it's only about a 2-mile-an-hour impact. But even a 2-mile-an-hour impact redirects me back and causes me to rotate and take a step.
Where is it? Where are you rotating? Okay, let's go. Yes. This guy's such a joke. This guy's such a joke. Joke. The guy is supposedly so smart and he has all these tools. Why didn't you reconstruct the accident with the right speed limit, with the right conditions, with the snow, with the pavement, with everything there? And what evidence do you have that John O'Keefe was holding like this, and then when the car hit him, he rotated? Like, you rotated your body, sir. You rotated your body. So you're saying that if I put paint on my car and then I go like this, that paint is gonna get to my arm? Is that what you're saying? Because that sounds like a 400,000 job to me. It definitely sounds like you got paid very nicely for that stupid experiment. So if I just rub my arm into paint, paint is gonna get into my arm. And then I'm gonna be like, see, that paint could have been scratches. And that paint, that little rotation I just showed you sent me to a rotation and then sent me backwards, and that's how he died. Okay, just not enough, just not enough at all, not even close. Please, if you're gonna reconstruct an accident, reconstruct the accident with the right miles, with the right speed, the right conditions. Get a dummy. I know you are a dummy, sir, but get a real dummy, a better dummy, and get the accident to be okay. This is what the conditions were. Let me show you what happens to this dummy when I reverse this car at what was the mileage? 28 miles per hour. I don't remember, but absolutely the dumbest thing I've seen. Right, Pro Hack? Corina says, I was horrified and amused at the same time. I thought it was hilarious because I was like, you gotta be kidding me. There's a car with paint. I'm just gonna go like, duh, duh. Oh look, my arm has paint now. What does that prove? I'm not great with science, math. I'm good with words, English, grammar. But when it comes to like physics, I am not saying I know anything that he should have done or could have done. But I looked at that experiment and I was like, that's that's not even like the right speed. That is not, and I don't want you to be hit by the car at the right speed limit, sir. But we have accident dummies for that. You get paid so much money. You get paid so much money. Even I, as a lay person, could have said, you know what, let's get this, let's fake snow, let's go to a place that has snow, let's get a car that is the same car, let's drive reverse in the same speed we're trying to prove, let's get a dummy and show what is going to happen to the body, what's going to happen to physically, because the dummy cannot rotate himself. You can, sir, Dr. Walcher. You could rotate yourself to prove your point, which is another issue with his testimony. He comes in like a scientist and says, I have no dog in the fight. I don't care what happens. I'm a scientist. I'm here to prove you the scientific method. But you only wanted to show one outcome. And the one outcome is exactly the outcome the Commonwealth wants to show everybody. So, sir, don't tell me you don't have a dog in the fight. Don't tell me you are a scientist who is trying to be focused on several hypotheses and possibilities, and nothing else fits to the evidence that we have, which he's going to tell us what the evidence is that he relied on. He relied on the ring video to show that the taillight didn't break, per his opinion. He relied on Mr. O'Keefe's height, shoes, the locations of the lacerations, and the text stream data. That's all he relied on. So you're telling me that physically looking at the lacerations of the arm, the only possible hypothesis, the only possible way that he could have died is by the car reversing into him, hitting him in the arm, sending him to do a pirouette, and then him falling on the ground. There's no other option. He couldn't have hit his head anywhere else. He couldn't have slipped and fall. He couldn't have bit by a dog. He couldn't have been into a fight. Nothing else could have happened. And you're telling me that you are objective. So very difficult to believe somebody like that. Ask Bob says he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And I haven't even began to talk about his demeanor. It's so hard to watch. It's so irritating, right? I don't even know what the people that maybe, because we are pro Carrie, we are here. We have watched so much of this trial already that we are like, of course, she didn't do it. The evidence is obvious to us. But to people that don't know all that, I wonder how they perceive an expert like that, somebody who always has to contradict, always has to cut off the attorney, has to be like, your question doesn't make any sense. It's just, I don't like that personality. Eileen say totally condescending. I don't know if anybody liked him. I'm gonna go to Twitter later and check the pro prosecution people to see what they thought he was brilliant or something. Pro Hack said discussing that he was dressed like John O'Keefe. What did that prove? Exactly. Dressing like the victim, not reconstructing the accident the way it supposedly occurred. Just a waste of time and money. He did it 2 miles per hour. Yes, but I wanted to know what is the mileage that the Commonwealth is claiming she reversed the car. I think it was 28 miles per hour, but please let me know in the chat what you guys remember. ProHack says 400,000 doesn't go very far these days. Right, you got to buy a Lexus, I don't know. I think it's a lot more than 400,000 because if the car, if they're responsible for 325,000 for the car, is that what I understood? I mean, I'm sure the company is going to charge a lot more than that. I can't believe what he got away with. Poor choice of words, no dog in the fight. Exactly. This trial is the trial that just keeps on giving. It's horrible that we're dealing with a real family, with a real victim, and with a real defendant. Somebody's life, her parents, everybody that has to endure this story in a personal level. But for us watching this, it's insanity. It's like there's always something else. The Welcher guy was astonishing and an awful expert. So, okay, Ask Bob is helping us out here. 24 miles. Okay, so the claim of the Commonwealth is that Karen Reed was reversing her Lexus, her huge SUV, in the snow with the snow falling. It was 12:45-ish. So maybe it wasn't a lot of snow yet, but it was starting to fall based on the previous testimonies I've heard. She reversed at 24 miles an hour, hit him. Nobody heard anything. There was nothing on the ground. And he rotated, fell, and that's how the accident happened. But we didn't see any of that being reconstructed here, right? So the first video we're going to watch is just him again, letting us know what did he rely on. Hold on. Let me put this view like this. What did you rely on for your opinion?
I'm going to ask you a question about a series of your slides regarding this effort. This is 110. Could you also follow through to 111, 12, 13, 14, 15?
You want me to play the videos?
You don't need to play the video. They just
No,
want
he
to
just asked you to
acquaint you
follow.
for the question.
111,
12,
112, 113, 114,
He can't stop talking.
115.
Oh my God.
How many times did you engage in testing where your
Tina.
arm and forearm
Tina.
touched the rear right of the exemplar Lexus?
3 times.
In any of those 3 times, did it ever leave any paint on the underside of your arm or forearm?
No.
If you could turn to slide 130, please. What? Could you go back one, please?
JP, I totally agree. I was appalled with the judge's comment this morning, her decision. Absolutely.
Perhaps it's 131.
It has no
Welch.
shame.
There we go. Could you explain the significance of this slide, please?
Your Honor, this is.
Oh, could you take that down, Dr. Welcher?
Thank you, Mr. Brennan.
We're going to move forward. Yesterday, when we left off, I had asked you,
So we need to take this slide down.
Yeah.
Sorry,
could you take the PowerPoint down, please?
I was in a different spot on the slide. Hold on a second.
Oh, we got one. We got one, guys.
That's it.
Eileen,
you.
absolutely
Sir, I had
insulting
asked you
amount of
yesterday
taxpayer
about
dollars
some of your opinions.
spent on this
I
horrific
want to ask you about some of your opinions relative to that last effort that you made regarding testing between the Lexus and your arm.
Correct.
You had mentioned earlier on in your testimony that you reviewed a number of pieces of information
Yeah, tell us what.
and offered that you relied on some of those pieces for your opinion. Can you share with us, for this part of your analysis, what pieces of evidence or information did you rely on for the opinions I'm going to ask you?
Relative to the testing on the arm contact on the taillight.
Yes.
So it was the physical evidence at the scene, the
So physical evidence at the scene is it would be the taillights, right? The taillights. So now let's look at it from both sides, okay? If the jury is thinking, well, they found pieces of taillight at the scene, so how did that get there? There were pieces of glass. So that is something that he relied on, physical evidence at the scene. For us, who have watched this and who are defense prone, we know that sure, there were pieces of taillight found at the scene, but they were not found by the forensics team, the search team that was there to search. And they did a methodical search. They looked step by step. They didn't find this. All of a sudden, days later, this suspicious investigator, Proctor, who was fired, by the way, starts finding pieces of taillight everywhere. So that is a piece of evidence he relied on, okay?
photographs of Miss Reed's vehicle. To a certain extent, my analysis of the Ring doorbell and the One Meadows event, the nature and
Excuse me, Your Honor, pardon my interruption. I just want to know if he's reading from something or not reading.
Looks like he's telling us when he's reading from something.
no, I am counting on my finger.
Thank you.
So I am counting the
You're trying to be
Ring video
cute because
doorbell.
you're not
Mr.
not
O'Keefe's
helping.
height, the type of shoes he's wearing because I need the same type of shoes. My exemplar inspection where I matched up the heights, the locations of the lacerations, and then the tech stream data as well.
Okay, so that's what he relied on, right? He's a scientist. He did not rely on a specific test. He did not rely on a reconstruction of the accident going 24 miles per hour, exactly as he's saying that this accident happened. He relied on the Ring video, the piece of taillights that were found, Mr. O'Keefe's height, his shoes, the location of the laceration, and the tech stream data. Okay, we might have to do something about the chat. We're just gonna wait a little bit. So then let's go to the beginning of the blue
I
experiment.
did this at very low speeds,
Why?
and you'll see,
Why?
and we'll throw this from two different angles. That's me showing I'm doing test 2.
That's the dummy.
This is from a camera that we have pointing down at it. This is the speed. You'll see it's only about a 2-mile-an-hour impact. But even a 2-mile-an-hour impact redirects me back and causes me to rotate and take a step.
Well, we don't have any proof of that because you could have very well rotated yourself. We don't know if the car caused you to do that. If it was a dummy, we would have known that.
Your Honor, can you approach, please?
Yes.
See, he walked away after this supposed contact with the SUV, and that doesn't prove anything to me. So let's see this other portion here.
So again, this is the
And he's so
view from
insensitive.
behind.
I want to try to cover this.
Just to avoid the confusion, I will start it here.
Oh, I can't even cover it.
What speed is the car traveling?
You can see it. About 2 miles an hour.
Excuse me, Your Honor, that is the objection that we spoke about.
Oh,
that I-
okay. All right, so that's noted, Mr. Lessing.
Yeah, it's noted, but she won't do anything about it because the judge came in. She had been kind of ruling fairly sometimes. So here you go. Henry H is asking me what are my thoughts about the judge. Henry, I will direct you to the Carrie playlist on my channel and go check the videos I made on the judge because she has been so unfair towards the defense even before the first trial, during the motions, the pre-trial motions. She's extremely rude, condescending. She interrupts them constantly. It seems like we have a theme, right? We have a theme in the Commonwealth people, and the judge definitely seems like she's part of that team, and she goes into this theme. Even when there is a blatant issue, like yesterday, Dr. Welcher is questioned, why do you have the autopsy report in your report? He's like, yes. So why? And he said, he asked him about Dr. Scoribello's opinion that the death was undetermined, and he's like, well, no, I don't rely on people like that, or something to that effect. And then he said, well, the Trooper Paul report, parts of his report, the drone visuals are in your report. And he's like, well, yeah, but I doesn't, it's different. I didn't rely on that either. And the defense attorneys are telling the judge, we have the right to question him about these items, about his disagreement with the previous experts that the Commonwealth has brought. And the judge says, no, you don't. You don't, Alessi. You don't have any rights in my court. So she is a piece of crap. I call her dishonor. You're dishonor, because that is my opinion of her. Over and over, she proves to be working in conjunction with the Commonwealth. And there are several videos showing her looking at the attorneys, signaling them, her being condescending, cutting, interrupting the defense. Completely unfair, just completely unfair. And the way that one of the worst things for me recently was when Dr. Wolf from ARCA was being questioned in a voir dire, and the judge allowed Brennan, the Commonwealth's prosecutor, to be a complete douchebag, disrespectful, classless, rude, ridiculous. He was ridiculous that day, and the judge allowed everything. Now, these idiots that keep coming as experts for the Commonwealth, they show that they keep changing things. They keep adding, oh, we're not changing anything to the slide. We just deleted something and we added something else. That's not a change, because we're all idiots, right? So you can gaslight everybody. And the judge's like, well, there's nothing to see here. But if the defense did that, how could you violate Rule 14? I feel like you blatantly did this and you did it on purpose, and I'm going to take you off the case. Almost. At one point, we were worried that she was going to remove Alan Jackson from the defense team. So this is what a little bit of what I think about the dishonor Judge Bev. Eileen says, judge cannot hold her bias and size from anyone. Can't wait for the defense's witness, dog expert Gary Wing, Dr. Marie Russell, and Crash Daddies. Everybody calls them Crash Daddies. Even the boys. Ask Bob says, Bev is an absolute dictator. Bianca, man, we gotta get you on the algorithm. Yes, guys, please help me to spread the word, like this video, subscribe, share, comment, so that we can try to reach more people. Appreciate that, 10 toes. Tina Ann, he's also standing with his left foot out. What about showing if John was standing with his right foot out? So he's like that. Yeah, he did. It wouldn't fit the Commonwealth's narrative. And that's what he said. He said, listen, if I had done another experiment, then I would have to come in here and explain that why it didn't work. And we're like, exactly, sir. Okay. Ask Bob says, I have lipstick on my teeth. No. Your video on Bev's decision is amazing. I hope the defense has watched it. I don't know. I shared it on X. Ask Bob. There's like 4 comments. I hope your computer's okay. Her smile means she's raging inside. Yes. Okay, so let's go to let's see what else in this point.
So similar to the other test, this is the post-con.
Showing the picture of the autopsy, because honestly, I don't even know how to cover this. I can probably try to cover after the video, but it's just so insensitive. This guy is absolutely insensitive, ridiculous, unprofessional. He's not doing the reconstruction of the accident, and he's showing the autopsy picture, and he's dressing like the victim.
Contact image of the transfers onto my arm. Actually, the yellow paint you can see from my hand is here. This is from the arm and forearm. Here's the paint transfer pattern.
And that slide number,
I'm
Dr.
sorry,
Welcher?
I'm terrible with that.
That's
Slide
okay.
116 now. That was 115.
Thank you.
Slide 116.
You can stop talking,
What
so
I've
there's no
done is
question
I've
pending.
Taken these yellow lines to show the extension of the components on the rear of the exemplar Lexus. Then I've done this extension of those same components on the rear of Miss Reed's Lexus and shown how the approximate location of the fractures in the taillight match up with the approximate location of the contact of the arm onto the taillight.
Dr. Welcher, do you have any indication of how Mr. O'Keefe's arm was bent, what angle it was bent at?
Not exactly, but for these to be taillight shard fragments, they would need to be in the area of the taillight, but it could be further up. We know from the police photograph.
How did it cut into little pieces? And if the taillight exploded into little pieces, wouldn't his arm have a bunch of little pieces? Like little pieces of a taillight, because it's not even glass, it's like plastic material, whatever it's made of. Wouldn't his arm be full of that? Like when you sit somewhere and there's like a little piece of wood, it gets into your skin. So if you're saying this contact is what caused all these lacerations on his arm has lacerations from here all the way up, and they're going like inwards to his arm. How did that taillight do that? That's what we're still trying to answer here. And if we can't answer, neither can the jury right now.
That there was a damage to the rear body panel in the area I'm searching here. So it's possible his arm was a little higher up and the glass hit the rear of the Lexus and caused that damage.
In the bottom
Thank
right,
you, Eileen. It's because I have to be more
I will
consistent with
strike
the
that last
videos
part
too.
about
Thank you.
I have to
the purpose
be
of the
more,
circle is for what, Dr. Welcher?
To show
Let me just say this. Yeah, I appreciate everybody's support, and I know that one of the reasons why the lives don't have a lot of people yet is because I'm not that consistent with timing, because I work a lot, I study, I do other things, I have my dog, and I don't have the consistency yet. I have to be able to show you guys, listen, I'm going live every Sunday afternoon, I'm going live every other evening or something like that. And I think that would help the channel a lot. So I do appreciate everybody for putting the word out there. But this is one of the reasons why I think that we don't we don't move forward yet. But it's okay. I appreciate everybody that is here and these discussions. So let's
in this
just finish
case,
this
primarily
little
location of
part.
lacerations up on the arm, the upper part of the arm, and that they match up with the locations of at least the one remaining shard in the rear taillight of Miss Reed's Lexus.
Looking at the picture of the Lexus, bottom right middle, are there any marks on the Lexus itself that you took note of?
Yes, it's on the next slide.
Thank you.
Actually, it's
Right.
slides.
Wouldn't there be blood on the
so
taillight?
there.
Where's the
Again,
blood?
this is the evidence marker. There was a horizontal scuff. We know Mr. O'Keefe had blue jean type pants on.
Okay.
There's a scuff in the area that would approximately correspond to hip level for Mr.
Okay.
O'Keefe.
And next slide, please.
Yes,
And-
ma'am. 118.
It's just guesswork. It's guesswork. It's like the Commonwealth said to this guy, this is what we want to show. And he was like, okay, let me see. Okay, how can I make this happen? All right, let me say, okay, I'll say this here. It was the jeans. I'll say he was holding the glass. I'll say this is what, and it's just, okay. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know how he can come in with these conclusions without proving anything, without showing, okay, so show me the jeans. Did you go and rub your jeans against the SUV and that's what it caused?
And did you describe
You're
what you
just
saw in the
saying
bottom right-hand
things.
corner photo as well?
I believe, yes, I did. That's the scuff that lines up with the approximate height of Mr. O'Keefe's right hip.
Okay, but if
So-
the arm, you just said that the tail light, which is like the tail light is a little bit out of the car, right? The tail light is not, the black part of the car is here. The tail light is a little bit out. It's a little bit that way, like fatter. So you're saying the arm touched the tail light, and then he went like this with the hips to touch the black portion with the jeans and cause that scratch? Is that where we are with this?
So then I included previous image that you've seen, slide 119, with the reconstructed photograph of the rear taillight, showing where some of the fragments are. You can see where those fragments are relative to the curvature.
And that is the problem the defense has, okay? And I'm gonna tell you guys how I feel also with the defense and us that have been watching this trial for a long time now. This is the problem, because if a jury has no opinions whatsoever, they're just watching this trial for the first time, and they see this, they're like, okay, obviously the tail light broke, and they found pieces of the tail light. So that is a strong piece of information. Plus, Karen Reed going on video and say, well, maybe I did hit him. Maybe if I clipped him, you know, I told my attorney, and he said, well, you might have some culpability. When you think of these things together, for somebody who is skeptical in the jury, they could be leaning towards guilty. That is a possibility that for us, it's unimaginable, because we have been exposed to so much more in this case that we're thinking nobody can find her guilty. But if I was the defense team, I would like them to, what I would love to share with the defense team is to be mindful that a lot of us are living in an echo chamber. A lot of us are listening to the same information. We're discussing the same information with the same channels over and over. You have to simplify this case to the jury, to somebody who is skeptical about it. You have to simplify, say, sure, there are tail light pieces. Sure, Karen Reed said on an interview, maybe I hit him. She was in shock. I had a friend actually who is not following this case, very closely, but I was talking to her about it, and I loved her opinion. She said something like, oh my God, she was freaking out so much that she even thought about the possibility that she did something to him, because she was freaking out so much. She's like, if you did something, if you have a guilt, you are not going to put yourself in the middle. You're going to say, I don't know what happened. But she was so freaking out. She was talking about Karen, that she put herself into the equation. Maybe I hit her. Maybe something happened with the car and I didn't see. So I thought that was an interesting point of view. But I would make sure to be very simple and clear to the jury. Like, I would try to bring the evidence. Sure, we're going to have expert testimony from ARCA. We're going to have more science and all of that. Oh, thank you, Ask Bob. He gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. But I would try to be so clear, to make these points, because they have some points. So yes, we do have pieces of tail light, but how did the CERT team not find them? And show graphics, show PowerPoint presentations. This is what the snow would have looked like with 17 pieces of red tail light. We had this all these pieces for the Commonwealth, they had been there, but this person didn't find it, that person didn't find it, that person didn't find it. What can we take from this? Also, yes, Karen Reed did do an interview because she has nothing to hide. She's fighting for her life. She's trying to find what possible solution could have happened. And a guilty person doesn't do that. I would make sure that the explanations to the jury are very simple, and that every single point that we are aware of is very clear. Okay. For example, the part where Brian Albert, the Alberts and Jennifer McCabe are texting in a group text saying, say the man never came into the house. All of those points that are so important to us. When Proctor is telling his friends who are cops, the man in the house is not going to get any heat because he's a Boston cop. I would make like bullet points, PowerPoint presentation, visual presentations, because you would be surprised how much more we retain from looking at things. There are people who are more visual learners than just hearing. Alan Jackson can be the best attorney to argue this case that we have ever heard. But somebody may be sitting there thinking, what about all those pieces of taillight that I saw? I saw the picture of it. I saw the video of her saying, maybe I hit him. Did I hit him? All of those items are very crucial. So this is a very important part of the case, as I'm sure the attorneys are aware. But when you were in this echo chamber and everybody's saying how great you are, you guys the best defense team, you're doing excellent. A lot of time, as Bob, I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna make a video with a closing argument. I'm gonna do that, just for fun, and we'll do it together here, because I think that we have to simplify. Like, for somebody who is not a scientist, who doesn't have the knowledge that somebody like Alessi has, you have to simplify these facts and show why is the defense so certain, and why are they working out pro bono, for this defendant with such vigor. So visual. Yes, Tina Ann, I agree, a visual demonstration. Eileen says, loving this live, so small and can actually have conversations. That is one of my favorite things, because we get to know each other. Karina, ask Bob, they have been here since last year. And we became, closer, and it's great to be able to get to know you guys in the chat, because a lot of the big channels, I'm there and I'm trying to say things and it's just so fast I can't even read the chat. So it is really nice that we have this. So let me just see a little bit more of this, and we're going to change
the tail light. They'd be in the area somewhat centered within the region of the 2 yellow lines on slide 119.
Is there anything about the photograph in the top right-hand corner that's important? If so, could you zoom in and show us?
Leading.
So again, it's showing that this is when it's, I believe, in the Sally Port at the police station, showing that stuff.
So you're saying the jeans did that? That's what he said.
On the right rear body panel.
Okay, my jeans have never scratched my car like that.
Did you see any similar scuffs in the middle back of the car?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did you see anything notable as far as damage to the middle back of this Lexus?
The middle?
Yes.
Like back where the doors are?
But with the middle of the back
Middle
of the car,
back.
did you see any similar damage to the middle?
There
With the
were
license
scuff
plate
marks
is.
that ran along the bumper.
That's the side.
Okay, continue, please.
So this is showing his
Okay, I'm gonna take it off because I don't like the fact that they have so much of the autopsy photos showing during this presentation. Let me go to the next one where they're
On
gonna
the
talk a
same
little
time
bit
step?
about
not only that,
the
but there's
key cycle
frequently
data.
Oh, sorry.
You can't stop talking.
Sorry.
there frequently is a delay from when you step on the accelerator pedal to when that translates to increased RPM at the engine. It takes a little time to build it up or take it down.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So similar to what we did on the first one, basically what we did is we took all the text stream data that we had, which includes the shifting, the forward, the reverse, and the steering. Again, there was a tiny bit of leftward steer, and put that into a simulation program where we're simulating what the Lexus will do. So we take into account the mechanical characteristics, the steering response of the Lexus. So this is to show what it represents on the left-hand side.
Hold on, let me just read this. Brian, I am worried about the jury because they don't have all the information. Brennan has left so much out. I hope the defense calls some witnesses like Proctor. Yes, I really do hope the defense calls Proctor and Higgins. I think Higgins is a disaster for himself. Like, there's nothing he said that was helpful for the Commonwealth, and he just came off like a fool. Who else? Well, Lucky, they should call Lucky, right? The plow driver, they should call. And we'll figure out who they should call here because, you know, they're probably watching. Karina says, yes, I was. How lovely of you to notice. It's hard to read anything there. Oh, you're talking about the Eileen comments. Yes, it's hard, guys, in the chat, in the busy chats. That's why I love having you guys here. As Bob said, the cops didn't take a photograph of John's body in the snow, in the snow. That should have been step one. Yes, they didn't take a picture of the car when they first saw the car. Where's the broken tail light? If you're saying this is the murder weapon, where are the pictures? No, they mysteriously took it to the garage, and then the taillight was broken. But yeah, for a normal person to believe all that, it's a lot to ask. Pro hack, wouldn't there be blood in the taillight? Yeah, that's what we talked about. Okay, so I think this is his simulation of the car going forward and backwards. Let's
So each one of these little hash marks, a different color, represents 10 feet. The red lines show the extent of motion. Remember what I said, initially pulled forward, then backed up past its initial spot, and then went backwards further distance. So what this shows is where we simulated this in a program called HVE. So that's the vehicle, the Lexus pulling forward. And then it accelerated in reverse past its initial starting position and came to rest right there.
Doctor, when you say it came to rest there, do you
I'm
have
sorry.
data that the defendant's Lexus stopped there?
No, it did not come to rest. That I misspoke. That's where the text stream data ends. As you can see here, it's still going.
We gotta wait for the sirens.
It's still going approximately 23 miles an hour when that ends.
You'll have to zoom in on that so the jury can see what you're referring to. Please.
So again, as I mentioned, the text stream's taking a window of data. It doesn't take anything outside the window. You can see that when we account for the wheel slippage, that the vehicle at the time of the last data point, again, is at 74% throttle, 3,300 revolutions per minute, and is going backwards approximately 23.9 miles per hour.
23.9
traveled
miles.
a total distance backwards of 53 feet back from where it initially started. Or if you consider where it pulled forward 34 feet and then backed up 53 feet, add those two together from the point it pulled all the way forward. So this is 10, 20, 35 forward. And then it'll go 10, 20, 30, 40, 53 back.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull this
Correct.
up here real quick. Oh, it's not working. Okay.
Total of 87 feet. So from the maximum point it pulled forward to where it backed up, again, that was 34 feet forward, then a total of 53 back, total travel distance of 87 feet. So went all the way forward where it stopped, it then backed up 87 feet. When the text stream data stopped, it's still moving. It's still moving about 23 miles an hour, and you're still at 74% throttle and 3,300 revolutions per minute on the tachometer, RPM gauge.
We could turn the light on for a moment. Dr. Welcher, in your analysis of the data and the information you acquired and the evidence that you relied upon, did you come to some conclusions and opinions regarding the
Let's
defendant's
hear his
Lexus that evening?
conclusion. Yes.
I did.
As part of that opinion, you mentioned that you considered mileage to map distances as one way of mapping the location of the vehicle. Do you remember that?
I do.
If you could provide us with slide. I believe it's slide 25. And could you widen the left-hand box a little bit? And you mentioned you measured or you ran information about distances between different routes,
Correct.
specifically regarding Fairview to Meadows, the first box. Do you see that?
I do.
There are 3 different mileage numbers.
Yes.
And then there's streets to the left. Can you explain what's set out in that box?
Sure. It's basically 3 different routes you can go. Sherman Street, Pleasant Street, Washington, and Sherman Street.
When you considered the shortest route, 2.3 miles on Sherman Street, did you attempt to determine how long it would take to travel 2.3 miles?
Long.
How fast the car would have to be moving or how slowly it would have to be moving to travel 2.3 miles in 4 minutes and 15 seconds?
Yes.
And what did you determine?
So to go 2.3 miles in 4 minutes and 15 seconds, you would need an average speed of 32.47 miles an hour.
What if you took the longest route, 2.8 miles, and you considered 2.8 miles in 4 minutes and 15 seconds? Did you make a determination?
I did.
Could you share that with the jury?
It's 39.5 miles per hour.
Is that what the average speed of the Lexus would need to be to travel that distance in that
Correct.
time?
Okay, so let me just show this slide here, if I may, based on what he just showed us of the car going backwards 24 miles per hour. So this is like a representation, right? If you guys have been here before, you already know about this slide. This is the house at 34 Fairview. And let's say around 12:45 a.m., which we don't know that because Karen Reed's phone connected to the Wi-Fi at John O'Keefe's home at 12:36. So the 12:45 a.m. is an approximate time that I had gotten from Jennifer McCabe's previous testimony last year. This year, she said she wasn't sure about the time anymore. So also when Ryan Nagel was there, so he was here on the SUV, on the truck behind the SUV. This is one of the most important witnesses in this case because Ryan Nagel was there. He was present when the SUV supposedly was in front of the house. Supposedly, oh my God, guys, I see the chat. I'm going to freak out if it's what I'm thinking. Hold on, let me just do this and I'm worried. Now I'm worried. What happened? I gotta ask what happened. Karina, you're saying you're heartbroken. Karina, what happened? I hope it's nothing with the doggy. Eileen is saying doggy lover here lost our baby last August. Totally understand. My heartfelt wishes are with you. I'm so sorry. That is like the worst. Oh, Karina, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. How old is your doggy? Oh, oh my gosh. So sorry. You guys know I'm a big, big dog lover. This is so sad. Something happened to your doggy. They're the best. They're the most innocent and genuine companions. I keep thinking I should get another dog just in case, but it's just amazing the communication. Thank you, Karina. 13 years old. What a baby. Aw. Send me a picture later on the messenger. Oh, so sorry. Everybody send Karina some love. At least we're here for distraction, but this is awful, 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 awful. So okay, guys. This so let's say this is what happened, right? We have the Ryan Eagles truck, we have Karen Reed's SUV. They're saying she went forward and backwards, and then backwards she reversed 24 miles per hour. So she would have either hit the Ryan Eagles truck or SUV, I keep saying truck, or she would have hit the white Jeep. If you notice, right next to Ryan Eagles' face is the white Jeep, because that's where the white Jeep was parked by the mailbox. This is Brian Higgins' white Jeep. Or if she reversed towards the house, which his body was found by the flagpole, so towards the left side, then if she's going 24 miles per hour, wouldn't she have like hit the house as well or something, or the bushes? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So again, his little visual here with the car going back and forth. Let's go play this one more time here and just picture this is the scene. Why why didn't he reconstruct this this visual of the car going back and forth in the scene? Why didn't he put like microdots does with the house, with the snow? Why didn't he reconstruct the scene like that? Why is it in a line, in a parking lot, in a random parking lot?
I'm called HVE. So that's the vehicle Alexa's pulling forward.
Forward, okay. And
And then it
backwards.
accelerated in reverse past its initial starting position and came to rest right there.
Look at how long that was. How far that was. So the SUV went forward, backwards, 24 24 miles per hour. I can't talk today. Okay, so again, that's another point he made. So the other point he made was about the Lexus, because another bad thing for the defense on this case is the fact that yes, we did have a tail light that was broken, and Karen Reed said that to Jennifer McCabe. My tail light is broken. I don't know what happened. So that is a pretty bad piece of evidence for the defense. The defense says that when Karen Reed left in the middle of the night, which is this video we're about to watch right now, the SUV she reversed the SUV and it hit no, I don't know whose car that is. It hit the Chevy Traverse that was parked right there. So this is the other point the Commonwealth is trying to introduce through this expert, saying there was no hit here, there was no collusion, there's no way the taillight would have broken during this interaction, and the defense is saying that's where it broke. So let's take a look at this video.
So we have some information now on the time between each frame. So here's frame 0. This is frame 265. We're 13 seconds into it. Here's frame 305. Notice you see brake lights on the back wall here. Notice how they're not super red because you still have reverse lights on. Now they all go off. So the Lexus brake lights have been turned off at frame 353.
I still see the red.
Lexus brake lights begin to come on.
I still see the
357,
red.
they're back
Okay.
on. Lexus comes to a complete stop at frame 369.
After impact, that's what it says.
384, the reverse lights turn off. So now look how red this is because we no longer have the white reverse lights in it. And you can see the Lexus starts to drive forward. So frame 825, this is after the Lexus has left the scene. But notice the tracks in the snow. So we have very definitive locations for the wheels of the Lexus. We lay over a grid on the various frames. So we then took the images and did what's called clarification, which is where you overlay images from multiple versions or multiple views of the same vehicle, and it helps sharpen the image, but it slightly dulls the color. So you get a little cleaner, crisper image. So here's Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle before clarification, after clarification.
Excuse me, Your Honor, pardon my interruption. Can we get numbers of the slides as we're toggling back and forth?
Sure.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll make an effort. So slide 76. You're welcome. Going to slide 77. We're going to focus in on this area here. So what we will actually show is where the snow was displaced in these two spots. The spots right across from here and right across from here. You could focus your attention on those. Slide 77. So slide 78. To bring us all together, we went out to Mr. O'Keefe's residence and took a scan, a laser scan. So you see the laser scanner over here. Laser scanner is right here. Fence hasn't changed position. The camera's changed slight position. We can account for that. So here's the subject video. We have the correct resolution. There's a new camera. It's going slightly faster frame rate. That just means we have different times between frames on the new camera, but we're simply using it for calibration to the old camera. It's the same container for the MP4, and it's using the same video codec. Video codec is how the computer encodes the video.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to move this video to this portion
Reports
right
included
here.
forensic
The
scientists
cross, where they're going to go over the same
who
thing.
work for the Massachusetts State Police, correct?
I believe that's correct.
And you put those in your report as documents that you reviewed, correct?
Correct.
And as you sit here today, it's your testimony. You don't know whether in any of the reports of the Massachusetts State Police, there is an answer to the question of whether there's any connection at all between the glass found in the snow and the glass on the bumper.
I recall it being inconclusive.
Oh, so you recall that the testing was inconclusive?
I don't remember what testing they did, but for example, when they put the taillight fragments back together, they were able to deduce that the fragments were from the taillight. I don't think they attempted to do that with the glass.
Assume that there has been testing of the glass on the bumper, and assume that that testing conclusively determines that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that was found in the snow.
Okay.
Assume that.
Okay.
How would that affect your analysis?
Kelly, good to see you.
I wouldn't know where the
I'm
glass
so glad
came
you're
from,
here.
but we still have a whole bunch of other elements. So I don't think it would affect the end results.
So would it have any part in your analysis with my assumption that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that's associated with the broken glass that was supposedly found in the snow?
Yes, I mean, we always want to have as much answers or as many answers as possible. So I would want to know if we could figure out where it came from.
And wouldn't the fact, assuming that the test results show there's no connection, meaning the glass on the bumper is different from the glass in the snow, wouldn't that be contrary to your theory of what happened in some way?
It depends on when the glass was actually broken. The glass was in his hand, at least that's the testimonial evidence I've seen. So it depends on whether it's broken from contact with the rear of the vehicle or broken with contact on the ground.
Assume that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that was found in the snowbank. Doesn't that, at least in part, contradict your hypothesis as to whether there was contact by the Lexus with Mr. O'Keefe at 34 Fairview?
So if you recall on my slides, nowhere did we discuss
Good to
that in my
see you,
slides.
Glenn.
So no, it wouldn't contradict it. I would want to know where that glass came from.
But you didn't seek that information, did you, sir, in your analysis to determine where the glass came from?
Of course I did. I read the reports about it.
But you sit here and you say you don't know the answer. There's steps you could have taken to get that answer quite easily. Couldn't you have, sir?
Not me. That's a material science expert.
You've been communicating with Lieutenant Tully, haven't you?
Correct.
You couldn't have asked Lieutenant Tully that question?
But to my knowledge, he's not a material science expert.
But could he have told you the result of testing on that glass on the bumper and whether it was any way associated with the glass found in the snow? Wouldn't that have been an easy question to ask him? Just has there been testing, and if so, what's the results?
Yes, but my knowledge from reading the reports was it was inconclusive.
But you didn't read all of the reports, did you, sir?
Apparently not.
Let's turn to another.
Talking about his demeanor, right? We were just reading a comment here about his demeanor. His forehead is constantly like furrowed inwards, like he's confused or something. His eyebrows are inwards. He has this superiority demeanor. Like anything that Alessi is asking him is so stupid. He just looks at him like I don't understand what you're talking about. And he just has to constantly talk. There's no moment where he's breathing. Even with the judge, he was talking over her. She was like, hold on. But she of course did not admonish him. She actually protected him yesterday, saying, let's get over this so that he doesn't have to come back, please. Okay, please, let's not have him come back. Now, if it was Dr. Russell or Dr. Wolf from ARCA or Dr. Ranchler from ARCA, she wouldn't have done that. She would have just said, sit there and just take it from Brandon. Take it. Take whatever it is. So it's just very upsetting to watch that type of disparate treatment. But the body language of unqualified smugness, yes, it's just not only the body language, but the way that he speaks and interrupts and talks over people. And he has to have an answer for everything. Like even when Alessi says, thank you, you're welcome, we're going to move on. Good. It's just like, sir, please back off, relax, take a breath. Tina Ann says the more gaslighter talks, the less they have to answer questions, wasting time and talking in circles. Right. You sound like you're so above everybody, but where is the reconstruction of the actual accident you guys are claiming that occurred here? Where is it? So another video I want to show you is when he is saying, how did it happen? Or that he doesn't know.
Okay. And would you agree that the first question, or one of the first questions that are to be asked by a biomechanical engineer when conducting an analysis of, say, an injury is, how did this happen? Is that one of the first few questions
No, it's
that
not.
you ask?
No, that's usually the last question.
Oh, so for you.
So hold on a second.
Okay,
Generally, what you want to do is gather data.
Hold on a second, hand. Hold on a second. Now I'm gonna say other things. I'm gonna say more things. I love Alessi. As you guys know, everybody here loves Alessi. We all love Alessi. He's so smart, so classy, so awesome. Just like a gentleman, just a class act, right? He's above. Now, Alessi, he's so nice that he didn't know how to deal with this douchebag. Okay? Because yesterday he was like just being walked all over, because it's in Alessi's defense, it's like when somebody's so rude to you and it catches you off guard and you don't have a reaction, and then you go home and you keep thinking, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that. That was a good comeback. But at the moment, you don't even have a reaction because the person is so like out of it that you're like, that is a decision for you to treat people that way, you know? So when this guy says, hold on, I'll be like, sir, there's no question pending. Thank you. Next question is ta-da-da, ta-da-da, ta-da-da. No, but I want to explain. Sir, you will have an opportunity to explain during recross. Right now, I'll ask you the questions. It's a yes or no. If you are unable to answer yes or no, please let us know. Thank you, sir. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Sir, there's no question pending. I would just keep keep doing that to this guy, because this is what we got. This guy having the audacity to do a hand move. Hold on. Excuse me. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Word salad. Constant word salad and gaslighting with this douche. Let's see.
You want to know what injuries there are, what evidence there is, like,
And
for
he
example, on the
keeps
vehicles.
rephrasing the
And then the very
questions
last
as
thing you want to
well.
know or define
Hi,
is, given all that
Tracy.
information,
Good
how did it
afternoon.
happen? So that's the end.
I think you may have misunderstood my question. So I wasn't talking about the method or the process. I was talking about when you get to answering questions, whenever that is in the process. Isn't one of the questions, and maybe one of the first questions, how did this happen?
No, that's not one of the first questions. One of the first questions is, where's the damage? What are the injuries? What's the evidence? What black box or text stream data do we have? What physical evidence was at the scene? So that is certainly not one. It is a question, but that question is added near the end.
Isn't every one of the questions that you just mentioned part of the data gathering?
Correct. But,
Okay.
but when you're gathering data, you're always asking yourself questions along the way, like, what is this? Where did it come from?
No, I don't believe you for a second. So I'm not very into science and math, like I said before, but I remember this from like when I was very young in school. A hypothesis and scientific method. Okay. Hypothesis. In a scientific method, a hypothesis is a proposed explanation or educated guess for a phenomenon that can be tested through experimentation. So a hypothesis is not looking at a bunch of things. Oh, what are these pieces of taillight and this and a car and an arm and this and that and testimony and forensic and putting it all together. A hypothesis, you have a proposed answer. The Commonwealth believes John O'Keefe was struck by Karen Reed's SUV in his arm. And then you perform tests to see how that could have happened. And that is exactly what Dr. Welcher did. But he's not going to agree that he did that. So it's a tentative answer to, let me move myself to the left. It's a tentative answer to a scientific question that is based on existing knowledge and observations, guiding the investigation, allowing for collection of empirical data. A well-formed hypothesis should be clear, testable, and specific, providing a framework for gathering and analyzing data to support or refute the explanation. So he should be able to gather data after the hypothesis, but he's going to argue with the attorney saying, no, I first look at all this data, all these pieces of things, and then later at the end, I create my hypothesis. Tina Ann, he stalks in circles, saying he doesn't start with any theories, but later in testimony said he did start with theories and whittled them down. Exactly. Kelly Ann, let's just be difficult, just to be difficult. Right. Why are you going to argue about what a hypothesis is? Why are you going to argue about little things like that are easily provable?
You would agree that for you, at least some point, it's how did this happen, correct?
We love
and don't
you,
you ask
Karina.
that
We love you
question
so
to
much.
come up with hypotheses?
I generally have many working hypotheses as I'm working on the case. And then as the evidence comes in, I'm applying that to my hypotheses
So
and
where
either
are
accepting or rejecting the hypotheses based upon the factual information.
Sir, how then is it just a matter of logic or a syllogism? If you don't ask the question, how did this happen until the end, how do you then not get your hypotheses up front when under the scientific method, you should be having different hypotheses up front? How is it that you ask the how did it happen at the end and not go through hypotheses at the beginning? Can you help me with that logic?
Sure, I guess I misunderstood. Like I was trying to give you an answer to how it happened. So when you're answering how it happened, or you want to be able to answer that question, you want to make sure you've looked at the totality of the data, accepted, rejected, things as they came along to be able to answer that final question, how did it happen? But along the way, like for example, a right eye laceration, you want to know how that happened. So you look for the evidence of how that may have happened.
Hi, Queen
So you
Olive.
would agree then
Good afternoon.
that
Good afternoon.
questions of how it happened, formulating and identifying hypotheses does and can happen toward the beginning
Welch
of
is
the
a
analysis.
paid
It doesn't
hack, in my
happen
opinion.
at
LOL.
the end all the time. Would you agree with that?
So the ultimate question of how did it happen happens at the end. The questions about the elements of what occurred to make it happen, those occur at the beginning, middle, all along the way.
No, that's not true. That's not true. The question of what happened, how did it happen, the first hypothesis, the idea of what may have happened, what are we trying to test for, happens at the beginning. It's the first question. It's the hypothesis. It's the tentative answer. And then through the scientific method, you test. And then you try to prove what happened. Did this happen? Could this have happened? Ah.
You would agree that
Imagine living with this guy. Imagine having dinner with this guy. Imagine having dinner with this guy. I would like to order this. Oh no, but you can't order this because you have to order this. It's just like I'm drained, sir. I'm drained because not only Shannon Burgess was difficult to watch, I had high hopes for you. I had high hopes for you.
creating hypotheses occurs more toward the beginning than toward the end of the analysis. Is that correct?
There are probably more hypotheses in the beginning, but I am continually forming, looking at hypotheses, either accepting or rejecting them upon the evidence.
So you would agree that the creation of hypotheses does occur more toward the beginning of the analysis. You would agree with that?
There are more towards the beginning. The process occurs throughout the whole investigation.
I'm asking about the hypotheses, sir. You would agree that the hypotheses occur more toward the beginning than the end, just a hypothesis.
So I don't know if you and I are saying different things. More hypotheses in the beginning because you have more questions in the beginning. You continue to form hypotheses as the data presents itself. So you don't stop the formation of hypotheses. It's just as you get more evidence, you window down the number of questions.
I
Maybe
love
can
how in
just
this
last question
case,
make it
I
clear.
love how in this case, everything just presents itself. Evidence presents itself, data presents itself, and you have several hypotheses in the beginning. Great, sir. Could you please point to your report all your hypotheses from the beginning? What page is it? Oh, blah, 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 blah. Sir, what is the number of the page, please? I didn't hear a number. I just heard words. Sir, where are the hypotheses, the several ones that you had in the beginning? Because the only thing I see here is you with blue paint rubbing your arm against the tail light. That's all I see. Sounds like one to me. Sounds like one to me. So, real quick before we continue here with this douchebag, I'm gonna share, guys. Our great friend Karina, who is a wonderful member of our show for over a year. She's such a supportive friend as well because she always checks on me. She encourages me to go to other channels. She encourages me to keep making videos. She's a wonderful person, and she lost her baby doggy today or recently, Maisie, who is a beautiful dog, 13 years old. And I'm gonna share a picture of Maisie so we can all send Karina some love because that's what we are here for. We are here so that when we have hard times, we can share together. And here is not you, sir. Get out of here, sir. This is Maisie. Look at how beautiful she is. And those eyes. Those eyes. Hi, Maisie. How are you, sweetie? Hello. And this is what Karina posted. Love you always and forever. Maisie. Aw. I hope my dad was there to greet you as you went over the bridge, my darling. That is so sweet. So today, she passed away today. I'm so sorry to hear that. And everybody send Karina some love. We love you here, Karina. And we love you, Maisie. We love you so much. We love you, love you, love you, love you. Dogs are the best. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. I wanted to share this so that we can have a break from this guy who's how do you say it? Insufferable or unsufferable? He's an insufferable pain. Insufferable pain. Okay, so let's see. What are we doing? I just wanted him to say that we don't know how it did happen, but I'm still watching. We still have like a minute, I think, until he says that. Let's go.
Clear for you, sir. You would agree, not analysis, what you added, as I heard it to the last part, just hypotheses.
Insufferable
You would agree
pain.
that even though
Everybody
hypotheses
says
can be
insufferable.
created and changed perhaps all the way up to the end,
Mhm.
you would agree that it's important in the analysis to create at least some hypotheses, plural, in the beginning, correct?
Yes.
So what are they? What are they? Give us the hypotheses.
And once
Plural.
you create these hypotheses, would you agree that those hypotheses should be tested?
So if you take the word testing to mean testing compared to testimony, compared to physical evidence, yes.
And when you test those hypotheses, isn't it often the case that, particularly in your line of work, the one that most consistently produces the same injury will emerge as the mechanism of injury?
I guess it depends on the scientific evidence behind it. Again, sometimes we get very unique injuries.
So my question, sir, is this.
Mhm.
Isn't it the
Uh-huh,
case
uh-huh,
that
uh-huh,
when you have
uh-huh.
multiple hypotheses,
Hypotheses.
the one that most, out of all of them, it's a relative thing, the one that most consistently produces the same injury emerges
Injury.
as the mechanism of injury? Is that a fair statement?
I think generally, again, it's on a case-by-case basis. You have to look at the science and the facts of what you're basing it upon. I think it's a general.
Well, this is a case right now. We're looking at this case. This case, sir.
Premise, what you're saying is accurate,
Okay,
but there's exceptions.
fair enough. But it's a general principle
Sure.
with some exceptions. That's a fair statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
We're going to have several topics, sir, and what I'm going to try to do to make it
Yeah,
a little clearer
he
is
has
I'm going to
one
say when I'm switching
hypothesis.
topics.
Oh, good.
So what I'd
Okay,
like to do
good.
now is switch
He's
topics.
like, good, good. He's like, good. Sir, we're not asking for your opinion of what you think about what LS is doing. We're just trying to ask you questions. We're just trying to ask you questions. Okay, so he's gonna talk about, okay, this is another portion I wanted to play real quick. Let's see.
Route.
So it was suggested to you by the prosecution that you look at the clip and they pointed out that there was an alternative route they wanted you to look at.
So I took it to be, we have additional evidence. Please look at the additional evidence and add it to your analysis.
Queen Olive says, I sure hope the jury sees through this guy. Wait until Arca is up. Hank the snake is going to be Jack. What is the other one? I can't see. Jacked up to them, and the jury will see. Oh, Jack, what is that? I don't know. Hank the snake is going to be a Jack ass to them, and the jury will see. Yeah, I just can't handle Hank Brennan. And why is it that everybody in the Commonwealth side is just so irritating? Like when Brennan, I have to stop muting myself. When Brennan talks, is like, hey, Yana, objection, Yana. Isn't it true that you did this because you did this and because oh, his voice and the teeth is just so irritating. It's just so irritating. Karina, there's got to be jurors that will be blown away with the difference of the experts. I hope so. I really hope so, because just by looking at Dr. Wolf, which I know is no measurement of expertise, but it's just like a calm demeanor, smile, dimples, science, cannons, all kinds of things. Donkey, Jack, okay, Queen Oliver, Tina, and your Brennan's impersonation. That I hear that every time that he talks. That's what I hear. Like, yes, Jan. That's all I hear. So anyways, let's keep going, because I think this is where he's going to say he doesn't care.
Topic of additional analysis by Aperture while this trial is going on. Are you aware of Mr. Burgess submitting a report dated May 8th of 2025 in this case?
Yes, I received that report on May 8th.
Right. And so you were aware of the creation of that report on May 8th because you got a copy of it, right?
Correct.
Were you aware that Mr. Burgess was intending to submit that May 8th report to the Commonwealth?
Yes, we had had a discussion before that he had found new information that changed the timing.
Oh, he had found new information. What is your basis for saying he found new information as opposed to the information always existed? It's just it was pointed out to him that that should be looked at. What's the basis of
He
your
said it
understanding that
wasn't
he
new.
found new information?
Objection to the question.
I'm going to allow the question, but you have to ask it differently.
I will, Your Honor. Thank you. What is the basis for the statement you made that Mr. Burgess found new information?
I guess it was his meeting and our discussions. He indicated that he had found new information.
Did you ask him
Oh,
what do you mean by
new.
new?
No, I took it at what it said.
So do you, as you sit here today, have any basis to say that that information is new as opposed to it's always been in existence?
Yes,
What is that?
what he told me.
Oh, so you relied upon the representation of Mr. Burgess. You didn't have any independent document to determine whether in fact it was new.
I don't quite frankly care whether it's new or not. I just care what's in the data, whether it's new, old. I don't care. It's not
We
relevant
do.
to what I'm doing. I don't say this is new data, this is old data. I just
We
care what
do
the data is.
care.
Sir,
There,
have you ever, has Abby
sir,
ever submitted-
there's a thing called the rules of evidence. And we do care when you change stuff. The defendant has the right to know what is going to be presented against her so she can have the time to defend herself against the accusation. So the fact that you don't care just shows us the type of professional that you are not. That you are not. We're all here for the canons. Yes. Lucinda, good to see you. Clerk of the Year 2007. Hank made it through CIC calling only one McAlberts, who is necessary for there to be a case. He only needs one tampered juror to achieve both goals. One, keep the clock running. Two, limit liabilities of homies. So this is a question I actually have. I was under the impression that for her to be considered guilty, they would have to have a unanimous guilty verdict. Is that the case, or is there a difference? If anybody knows. Eileen Taylor, this jury has to have their ears pinned black for the defense case in chief. Queen Olive says there's a woman's life on the line. You should care, jackass, with money signs. Yeah, this comment was so insensitive. And it's just a combination of things, right? It's the fact that the other guy from his company, Shannon Burgess, lied on his resume, lied on LinkedIn and on another portion of his CV. Not the one that he gave it to the court, I'm aware, but he lied on two things. This guy says, I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care. He dresses like the victim. He shows the autopsy pictures in the middle of his little blue man test, like so disrespectful, just so disrespectful. And okay, SMB is saying it has to be unanimous. Okay, thank you. And here he shows who he really is, right? The arrogance of I'm above all of it, I don't care. And that, I think, is a theme for all of the Commonwealth witnesses, or most of them, I want to say, beginning with Trooper Buchanan. It's just the arrogance, the pompous, the ego. It's like there is no accountability in Canton for these guys. They have been used to this type of lifestyle. And this is another reason why it is so plausible that something could have happened with John O'Keefe in the house and that they covered it up. It's so plausible because they just it has so many holes. Brian Higgins destroying his phone, Brian Albert getting rid of his phone, getting rid of the dog, getting rid of the house. And then the arrogance, the above it all. And I think that is a great story to sell the jury. I just don't agree how they tried to do it last time. I think it was too prolonged. It was too much, taking hours and hours to cross-examine the Alberts, the other witnesses, and that it was lost in translation. But I think that when I work on my closing argument for you guys, I'm going to put that in there because I think it is very important to point out that there are a lot of factors in this trial that, if you look at it objectively, do make sense. That could be a cover-up if you look at the facts. But we have to be careful because the evidence hasn't come in yet for all of them. So this we need to see. Clerk of the Year says, yes, he needs 12 jurors for guilty, but the villains benefit from a hung jury. third trial almost as much, maybe more than a conviction. Okay, that's what we are basically that would be our concern, worst case scenario, because I don't believe that they can
We need to keep going
find
and get through it. So let's just stay.
unanimous jury to convict her. So here is his conclusion, his opinion.
On the events, okay? Only one of all of those events, those 18, are you concluding that
Yes.
there was a collision associated with them, correct? Just one.
No, all those 18 are before. The collision's number 19.
No, I'm saying, I understand what you're saying.
He doesn't
but for all
even
the
like
other
look.
events that are
He's
recorded,
just
you're
doing
not,
something
other
else with
than
his
the
hand.
January 29, 11/62/2, you're not concluding that any of those were
Are
collisions,
you
correct?
scratching
I
your
didn't look at
butt?
them. They were
What are you
so
doing,
far
sir?
mileage away from everything.
But you're not concluding, even though they were so far away and you didn't look at them, you don't conclude from the information you have that any of them were a collision, correct?
Yes.
Sustained.
Let's go to 5:07 a.m. on January 29th, 2022 at One Meadows, the home of Mr. O'Keefe.
Okay.
There was a collision between Ms. Reed's 6,000-pound Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's approximately 4,500 Chevy Traverse. That's undisputed, correct? They collided, they made contact.
They touched.
Right. But the actual collision at One Meadows did not register the recording of an event on the Lexus VCH system, did it?
Correct. Too minor.
So, however, you want this jury, sir, to conclude that the glancing blow that you contend occurred at 34 Fairview Road by the same 6,000-pound Lexus in contact with a mere 216-pound man did register an event on the Lexus, correct?
No, the impact didn't register the event. As I pointed out, the trigger was from when the accelerator pedal went to 30%. The tech stream does not register crashes at all. It registers excessive acceleration, excessive steering, excessive braking, things like that, things that would be part of the maintenance system. So the tech stream will never register an event, even if you hit a wall at 100 miles an hour necessarily. It'll cause fault codes and things like that. But that's not what it does. The trigger here was transitioning into reverse and then gunning the accelerator pedal in reverse. And so when it went from 30 up to 74% throttle, once it went over 30 in that transition, that's what triggered the tech stream. It had nothing to do with, and that's why I'm telling you, I don't know when in that event the impact occurred, because the tech stream doesn't tell you that.
Thank you. That
You're
is
welcome.
exactly my point.
You're welcome.
The tech stream information doesn't tell you when a collision occurs, does it?
Correct.
Okay, so I think this video is the conclusion.
Now let's zero in a closer look, and that is a contact point. Am I correct?
Correct. I mean, there's multiple points. There's more than
Multiple
one.
points, but it shows more clearly the contact between the two vehicles. Now, if we could,
Not moving.
the next, and that is number 91, Mr. Wolf. So Your Honor, 91. I think these are just going to go in order for a few, and I'll keep announcing them. So this is 91, same vehicles, just a different viewpoint. Is that correct, Dr. Welcher?
Correct. This and the next.
I just want to stay
I know.
with this one. I just asked a question. Does it show the contact?
So go ahead and answer now.
This slide and all the other slides, we're trying to show the angle of contact, but because it's two-dimensional image, you're losing some perspective. For example, here you're seeing the chrome piece on Mr. O'Keefe Chevrolet, which is on the right. You're seeing it obviously behind where the Lexus is. So we were trying to show it at a whole bunch of different angles to try and illustrate the degree of closeness or lack thereof.
All right. So
Thank you.
is it correct that on your direct
That, I don't know.
examination, you said in sum and substance, we looked at the degree of overlap, and there's only about a 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap between the vehicles. Is that what you recall saying on direct?
That is correct.
And that you stated that supposed 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap was insufficient to cause the taillight of the Lexus to contact the rear of the Chevrolet. You recall saying that?
That's correct.
Now, I would like you to look at that. This is from your slide presentation.
What do you guys think?
Is
Do
that
you
not showing
see
contact between the
contact
two
here or
vehicles?
no?
Oh, it absolutely is not. What you're seeing is a portion of the vehicle that is behind the area. Keep in mind the angle, the Lexus is angled off to the left. So the area that you see here is actually, in this case, in front of where the taillight is. This is why we tried showing it from a whole bunch of different angles, because when you try and take a two-dimensional image and look at it, you see stuff in the background. So and again, this is why in the computer, we overlaid them, looked at the measurements in the computer where you don't have this, we have the three-dimensional measurements, and it does not hit.
Where did you show in your slide presentation what you just said? That
It does not hit. It does not hit. And he was struck by the car. But he just says things. He doesn't have any evidence to back it up. Okay, so I do think this is the last video I want to play with him, which would be his opinion. Please tell us.
I'm going to ask you a question about a series of your slides
I'm
regarding.
going to ask you a
this
question
effort.
about a series of your slides. I'm going to ask you a question about a series of your slides.
Go.
110, could you also follow through to 111, 12, 13, 14, 15?
You want me to play the videos?
You don't need to play the videos. I just want to acquaint you for the question.
111,
12.
112, 113.
Yeah, we saw the tire move
114,
on the video. The
115.
defense.
How many times did you
showed
engage in
us.
testing where your arm and forearm
I want
touched the
his
rear right
opinion.
of
Where
the
is it?
exemplar Lexus?
3 times.
In any of those 3 times, did it ever leave any paint on the underside of your arm or forearm?
Hold
No.
on, hold on. I think it's right
And then
here.
the text stream data as well.
That information that you considered, in addition to the text stream data you considered, considering both those areas of information, do you have an opinion to a
There you
reasonable
go.
degree
That's
of
the
engineering
opinion.
certainty in whether the damage to the defendant's Lexus is consistent with a collision with Mr. John O'Keefe on January 29th, 2022 at around 12:32 a.m.?
So there's been 2 potential theories that I've seen on that issue. One is
Already a problem. Already a problem, right? You're here to testify that it is consistent with. Yesterday you said that's what happened. And now you're going to be like, well, there's 2 theories. Okay, so tell us the theories.
a glass was thrown at the rear of the vehicle and shattered it. The second one was an impact to the arm. If the impact is basically more than approximately 8 miles an hour, it will likely
So he should have said there are 2 theories the Commonwealth presented me with. Not that there are 2 theories, right? Because when he was talking about hypotheses earlier and how he had so many different hypotheses and he had no idea what he was going to try to prove from the beginning. All he had was data and facts and just things presenting themselves to him. And then all of a sudden he looked at everything and it came together that the SUV hits the arm and the arm made John O'Keefe rotate and he hit his head in the snow. And that's what happened. Now, you know how genius this guy is because all of that he discovered on his own because the evidence was just presenting itself and talking to him. He had no idea that exact determination was going to be the hypothesis the Commonwealth had from the beginning. So, okay, so now he's saying it could have been the glass. Okay.
break the taillight lens.
Do you have an opinion whether, based on the data and based on the physical damage and your testing, whether that is consistent with a collision or a impact with Mr. John O'Keefe?
It is consistent with the collision as long as it's greater than approximately 8 miles an hour.
Do you have an opinion whether it's consistent with an impact or collision with Mr. John O'Keefe on January 29, 2022 at around 12:32 a.m.?
With that caveat, yes.
In your testing, did you consider, or do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty, whether John O'Keefe's injuries on his arm, inevitably in the back of his head, are consistent with being struck by a Lexus identical to the defendant's Lexus on January 29, 2022?
Yes,
What's your opinion?
that it is. It is consistent with being struck by a Lexus and ultimately contacting a hard surface such as frozen ground.
And does that specifically pertain to January 29, 2022 around 12:30?
How does he
AM?
know that?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow that.
Yes, it does.
To finish, I'd like to ask you a few more questions. You've written some
Okay,
papers
wait,
on...
wait. Let me pause that. So that's all I wanted to see from this guy. Lisa Miles says, I think the defense should call the least likely person that the defense would expect them to call, someone who is far off the radar, that they are likely not being prepped or spend time rehearsing. Do you have an example of who you think that should be? Karina says, I think the Commonwealth took everyone's chat about visuals and found this idiot. Queen Olive, unbelievable that Hank the Snake made fun of Arca for building a potato cannon gun, but this expert dressed like John O'Keefe and used blue paint. Ridiculous. Exactly. He said yesterday that she was there, John was there, the tail light was broken, so she did it. Yeah, he was like, that's what happened. That's what happened. Corina, that sounds very familiar. Didn't the juror Ronnie say that too? Queen Olive says Brandon's trying too hard to keep from putting on a fair defense. He knows his case stinks. Lucinda, let's see John. Let's see. John through the glass, right? Let's go back. So John is here behind the car. Hold on. John is here. He's holding the glass. He threw the glass at the Lexus. He threw the glass at the Lexus. Then the glass and John flew backwards to the flagpole. That's one of the theories. The other one is that the one with the blue man experiments. Ask Bob. Olive, Bowdy, Ronnie said the same thing. Lisa Mel, sorry, I fixed my words in another post. LOL. Yeah. So this guy, that's what happened. That's what happened. Now, I just want to show you guys somebody who you may have missed a little bit, and who the Commonwealth did not call this time. I wonder if the defense is now going to call him because of the motion, not motion, but the issue we had today with the evidence.
That would mean that at 11:62, that key cycle would include the time in which Trooper Proctor had possession of that car, correct?
No.
Assuming my hypothetical.
You're hypothetical?
Yes.
If that's hypothetically how it works, then yes.
Then what?
If that's hypothetically how it works, then yes.
On June 9th, 2022, you were asked by a grand jury whether you knew or had done any scientific testing to determine the distance a body would actually travel struck by a vehicle. Remember that?
Not that specifically. Not in that way.
Do you remember answering that you had not, I'm just paraphrasing, that you had not done you hadn't finished your report yet?
Why don't you show him? He said he didn't remember it that way.
Yeah?
Yes.
Take a look at middle of the page. Your answer starts at about line 12, but the question above it is probably informative. You have that in mind?
Yep.
Yes.
You were asked, does that remind you that you were asked by a grand jury if you could calculate how far a body would move having been struck by a vehicle?
Yes.
And you indicated, quote, yeah, there's certain calculations we can do with that, but figure out if the car backed up, hit somebody, and then they go a certain amount of distance, and it's based on miles per hour, speed of the vehicle, striking vehicle, and stuff. Remember saying that?
Yes.
What do you mean by stuff?
I don't know.
You said that the calculations would be based on miles per hour and stuff. Did you ever do
He's like, I don't know, man. Just stuff, you know? I don't know. He was almost laughing.
stuff to test that? Grand jury's question.
No, we cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Say that one more time.
We cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Who's we?
I mean, sorry, me, the role we.
Well, you know, John O'Keefe's weight, right?
What's that?
You know John O'Keefe's weight, 217 pounds, right?
Yes.
Did you know that?
I don't know his weight now.
You know the weight of the vehicle?
Yes.
What's the weight of the vehicle, gross weight?
What's the gross weight? I think it's approximately 7,300 pounds.
Were you able to calculate the mass of the vehicle?
I did not calculate the mass of the vehicle.
Well, you told the grand jury that you were
Yes,
planning on doing
Tina, we
kind
know
of
that.
stuff to calculate how far a person would travel being struck at that speed
True.
with a car of that weight. You didn't do those calculations?
No, because the calculations would vastly underestimate the speed of the vehicle.
You testified, again, my report isn't done yet. I'm going to look into it. I'm looking into all that stuff. Inquiry, correct?
Yes.
What's that word again?
Stuff.
It's been more than 2 years since that statement at the grand jury. Is your report finished?
Yes, it is.
Did you engage in any of those calculations?
I looked into it. This type of collision I would not be able to use the formulas for this type of collision.
Well, let's talk about those formulas. How would you calculate how far a body at rest would travel after being struck by an object in motion? How would you calculate that?
In pedestrian collisions, I use the Searle formula, Searle throw formula.
What formula?
Searle.
What does that mean?
It's a type of formula that we use for a calculation of post-impact
So
or speeds of pedestrians.
that includes certain principles of physics to calculate that, right?
What do you mean?
Physics.
What do you mean by certain forms of physics?
There would be physics calculations that would be required to figure out how far a body at rest would move having been struck by an object in motion.
Right.
That's a basic principle.
Yeah, I guess you could say though.
Can you describe for the jurors?
Okay, hold on. Another part, real quick.
The initial momentum of the vehicle?
Yes,
Got it. Where'd you learn that?
it's in my math class. Since we don't use momentum for a vehicle to vehicle.
Math class?
The math.
It's in my math class. Okay, and then the last thing I'm gonna play for Triple Paul here. Right here.
The taillight cracks, and as it passes by, his arm stays with it long enough to get striations, those scratches that you see, those lacerations, I'm sorry, those abrasions that you see, right?
In a sense, yes.
And at the same time, he does a pirouette and flies 30 feet to his final point of rest.
I don't know if he did a pirouette.
Well, I'm using the word pirouette. He spun around.
He started rotating counterclockwise. I don't know how far he ran counterclockwise, but he started rotating. According
But
to that,
the
we're supposed to
arm
rotate
was there.
counterclockwise. Well, now he went counterclockwise all the way to his back toward the ground. It seems like a most likely possibility.
He held the arm.
Did you account for the fact that his arm is unhinged?
Is what? Say again?
Did you account for the fact in this scenario that you just told the jurors that his arm is on a hinge?
On a
On his
hinge.
shoulder?
Okay.
Right? So
Look at the
like
judge.
this. His
She's
arm just
like, damn.
swing.
Not even with my
I said
help.
arm and shoulder area, so his arm could have been considered part of it.
Even if his shoulder got
Okay.
pointing to his upper biceps.
Mhm.
Right? There's no injuries on his shoulder. Not a single one. Not even a bruise. Right?
Like I said, it looked like to me it was from up here. I don't know how far I can back here, but it was up here.
Well,
So
you're the one that talked about his injuries on his arm.
yes.
That's limited to about mid biceps, to about mid forearm.
Karina.
Right?
Yes.
No injuries on the shoulder. No injuries on the torso. No injuries on the ribs. No injuries on the back. Right? Is that right?
Yes.
So your theory is you got hit on the arm, took the brunt of the force from the taillight on the arm, stayed with the vehicle long enough.
Hello,
the taillight to
Jim
explode,
Jerry's
basically
gone.
shut. Then these striations get on his arm. Abrasions. Does a pirouette, spin, counterclockwise.
Spin,
Flies 30
spin.
feet in the air to his point of rest.
Yeah, I have to probably go faster than that though.
This guy's the worst. So, all of that happened when Ryan Eagle was behind the SUV. Let's take a look at Ryan Eagle.
Kind of right in front of the house, I would say.
When you stop in front of the driveway, about how far away from you is the black SUV that you saw?
Or a car length in front of me, a car length and a half in front of me.
What, if anything, was in between the truck, Ricky's truck, and the black SUV in front?
There's nothing, sir.
And when you came out to the truck at the end of the driveway, what, if any, other vehicles did you see in the area of the house on Fifth?
Well, before when I went outside, I did notice another vehicle before my brother pulled up. No, he was like fully outside already, and then I went out. It was just Ricky's truck.
And so at some point later, there was another vehicle that came up.
Prior. Correct.
So later? No, prior. So later? No, prior. Let me go back here real quick. And that is my old video.
The
So if
area
I
of
show
house.
up again, you know.
Or a car length in front of me, a car length and a half in front of me.
What, if anything, was in between the truck, Ricky's truck, and the black SUV in front?
So Ricky's truck, what is between it?
There's nothing, sir.
And when you came
Between Ricky's truck and the SUV, there is nothing. So Ryan Eagle, this guy was behind the SUV, Karen Reed's SUV. Okay, now this is his sister.
out to the truck at the end of the driveway, what, if any, other vehicles did you see in the area of the house on Fifth?
Before she came out to the driveway, what, if any, other vehicles did you see?
Well, before when I went outside, I did notice another vehicle before my brother pulled up. No, he was like fully outside already, and then I went out. And it was just Ricky's.
So SUV was there before she went out. But when my brother arrived, it was just his friend's truck, which she's probably drunk because the friend's truck, the friend and the brother, Ryan Eagle, both say that they were there when the SUV was there.
His truck.
And so at some point later, there was another vehicle that came up.
Prior. Correct.
So later? No, prior. So later? No, prior. And that's the scene again.
Left. And nobody's that that's the perfect time to carry.
Oh, this is me
huge
on
deal.
fast
But
mode.
moving about 3 cars forward.
Just want to go to Ryan
Right.
Eagle again.
Yeah, just about, yes.
Where did that black SUV go?
Probably about kind of right in front of the house, I would say.
When you stop in front of the driveway, about how far away from you is the black SUV that you saw?
Or a car length in front of me, a car length and a half in front of me.
What, if anything, was in between the truck, Ricky's truck, and the black SUV in front?
There's nothing, sir.
And when you
So all of this that we heard from the experts of the Commonwealth today, yesterday, and this week, they're saying that Karen Reed reversed her car at 24 miles an hour, hit John O'Keefe's arm, which was held there for a second, causing his whole body to spin around counterclockwise, hit the snow. There was a glass that fell. His phone fell underneath his body. And all of that happened. And at the end, he locked his phone, right? Because there was a user lock right after the fall. And in the meantime, Ryan Nagel is behind the SUV. In the meantime, his sister is coming back inside. It's just, I don't know if looking at it objectively, I don't think the Commonwealth has proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and they rested already. So too late, too sad for them. But like I said before, the videos of Karen Reed talking about having that word, maybe I hit him there, are very bad for the defense. That is my opinion. Since the beginning of the trial, this time, I was not happy to see that. I think the defense team either has a bombshell or something that made them comfortable enough in telling her she could do that, or they made a crucial mistake allowing her to talk to the media prior to the trial. Stop self-snitching. Stop self-snitching. Like Bruce Rivers says, anything and everything you say is going to be, can and will be used against you. They're not your friends. The cops are not interrogating you or asking you a bunch of questions because they're your friends. They're trying to help you. They're going to use everything you say against you. Even if you didn't do anything, they're going to find a way. That is unfortunately how unfair the justice system is. The justice system has people like the judge, Beverly Canone, and she's in a position of power. She's able to determine what kind of evidence is allowed or not in a case like this. She can make a huge difference sending somebody to prison for their entire lives who is innocent. So I don't trust the justice system. I don't trust it. So that to me was a mistake of the defense, and I think that people underestimate the power of the defendant's own words. The feeling, we talk a lot about that here in this channel because we talk about body language and we talk about behavior analysis, and when you meet someone, the feeling they give you is so powerful. We can make up people's identities and what we think about them with the impression they left us. And Karen Reed has a very strong body language. She has a very strong personality. She's very involved in her case. She's making faces at the witnesses at the Commonwealth. She's literally making faces constantly. And then you're going to play her on a big screen saying, yeah, I did call Yannetti and I said maybe I clipped him in the knee or whatever she said. Not good. Not good. Okay. So again, when we work on the closing argument in this channel for the defense, we're going to try to keep it very simple and keep the key items that we have to re-emphasize to the jury, because the jury is not like us. The jury is not pausing and playing and slowing down and watching YouTube channels to see everybody else's opinions. Okay. Clerk of the Year says Newton laws of fixed it. Queen Olive, the Commonwealth didn't call everyone that was in the house that night, so they really don't know how many people walked outside and didn't see or hear anything. That is an excellent point, Queen Olive. There are so many people that were there were so many people in the house. I mean, Brian Albert Jr. was having his birthday party, so we had his friends, like 3 or 4 friends. Then we had all the adults. We had Alberts, the Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe. We had Colin at one point. We just had a lot of people there. Brian Albert's brother and his sister-in-law and his wife. Pro hack bitch they. How did they keep from laughing when Super Paul was on the stand? I don't know. And stuff. Tina Ann and Higgins claimed he was parked on the road in front of the house by the mailbox. Make it make sense. Jim, Jerry, they haven't. Karina says, I think they've been good for getting the case seen by more people, though. That is a great point. Yes, the publicity is excellent for the defense. It's excellent for the defense for all types of things, for fundraising, for appeals, if that's the case. So the publicity and having the public opinion in their favor is an excellent thing. And I can see beyond what I'm seeing in the trial. I can see beyond. I see Karen Reed way different than that. But I'm saying the first impression, you know, Corina, but that seems to be happening anyway. Pro Hack, she and her attorneys thought she'd be acquitted. It was a very bad move letting her speak. Tina, and I don't think they expected a second trial. They were aware of a second trial. Ask Bob. At least 11 people saw nobody when leaving. Clerk of the Year, Karen Reed's team could think they have enough exculpatory evidence that Karen's words could never lead to conviction. But Bev's court is so rigged that it will always be a hung jury. It's a very rigged court. And that's another thing for us to be careful of. If they were allowed to introduce all the evidence, to play by the rules, if they were allowed to keep stuff out that keeps changing, that Commonwealth just keeps adding and changing stuff, if everybody was playing by the same rules, maybe, but the game is rigged. So that's why I keep saying we have to move forward very carefully. We have to tread carefully and just make sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. Clerk of the Year. So her interviews go towards awareness to create a solution external to BAV if one exists. I agree. That's a very good point. As Bob, lucky the plow driver saw nobody at 2:30 a.m. with a huge snowplow and huge lights. Yeah, that is like should be maybe the first witness the defense calls, right? Let's call Lucky. Yes, let's call Lucky. There was nobody there. And then let's call everybody that, maybe we want to just show real quick that just do a very, very short direct examination on the people that were at the house. Did you see a body? No. Okay. Tina, and I hope this helps people understand the police will create evidence and lie to convict someone. Yes, yes. And I don't think that is such an unbelievable thing. In the movies, we watch that happening all the time, and we're like, yeah, I totally believe that. But when it comes to real life and you see people of authority, people in uniforms, people that are detectives, police, nurses, doctors, we have a learned view of respecting these authority figures. We're like, oh, that's a police officer. I have all kinds of opinions, and when I watch movies, I'm like, yeah, this police officer is a douchebag. But when I meet a police officer in real life, I'm like, hi, officer, good afternoon, thank you for your service. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, but I think it's different for the jury to just think, okay, so you're saying maybe she didn't do it, but then you have all those taillights. How did they get there? So you have to believe that something nefarious occurred. If you're the jury, you have to believe that something nefarious occurred, right? Because otherwise, why are the taillights in snow? So you have to believe somebody put them there. You have to believe somebody broke the taillights in the garage, in the police garage. You have to believe that Proctor and Buchanan were kind of like maybe working in unison and just finding evidence day after day. You have to believe those things. Eileen was absolutely so thankful to be part of this stream, but bedtime for me in Scotland. Much love, praise, and blessings to everyone. Eileen, have a great evening. We're going to close soon too. Hopefully we can do another live tomorrow and talk a little bit about what happens tomorrow in the first day of the defense case. Ask Bob, Bianca, would you please run for governor of Massachusetts? I don't live in Massachusetts. I don't think I could do that. Besides, I don't have any politics. Besides my own opinions, I don't have any experience. But I love you, Ask Bob, and I love everybody. And thank you guys again. We're gonna end here today because I want to keep it at 2 hours. I'm unlike the lawyer, who keeps it at 1 hour. I'm trying to keep it at 2 hours when we hang out. And just want to thank everybody for being here again. I'm going to try to do a lot of weekends. And don't forget to do the YouTube things, like, subscribe, leave a comment. And I am grateful that you guys are all part of this wonderful channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you for watching, guys. Bianca MMM, your go-to place for mind meditation and motivation to elevate your life and keep you entertained. I'm passionate about exploring the human mind and psychology, and here we dive into court proceedings,
body language analysis, and sprinkle in a bit of humor along the way. You will also find content to boost your personal growth physically and mentally, featuring quick meditation techniques and uplifting messages to kickstart your day. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, take care and stay positive.